All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this week's Tipple's Wine of the Week, right before the new year. So we're going to celebrate.
Yep.
This is appropriate. So this is Elizabeth and Jeff Beaudre from Tipple's Brews and Wines, Gainesville, Florida. And this week, we're going to be enjoying the Telmont Reserve Brut Champagne.
Okay. Are we gonna talk about what happened this week in the house with the term champagne? Do you remember it, or you don't remember it, or
No.
you're just so angry that you don't?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
Our son,
there was some pushback.
well, our son was referring to some champagne that he had with his friends in Auburn, and I could see as he's telling the story, Jeff's just getting more and more
Look, I had nothing else to,
enraged about it.
in terms of rampage might
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so then he explained to Reese how it was not actually champagne.
Sparkling wine is a category separate and inclusive of champagne. Champagne comes from Champagne in France. Sparkling wine is a sparkling wine, which is fine. That's great.
Champagnes are sparkling wines, but sparkling wines aren't necessary.
Exactly. And
anyway, Reese disagreed and thought that you were being pretentious.
I honestly don't think it's pretentious. It actually is a very important designation.
Hey, all squares are rectangles, not all rectangles are squares. So
and see, there you go. So yes, exactly.
All right.
So bearing that in mind,
champagne.
this is a
region of
champagne. Region of Champagne. Sparkling wine from Champagne. Fair enough to say, right?
Okay. Open yours.
Not yet. First, you have to put up the first slide. Then you have to stay thirsty until then. All right, so here we have Telmont Reserve Brut Champagne, France. Ratings: Willy Wong 92, Decanter 91. Food pairings: oysters on the half shell, but different from turtle on the half shell. TMNT. All right. Fried chicken, which I know people that, here's the thing, champagne goes with almost everything. And so you get this crazy collection of what you can do, but it's fun to put the things that people don't think about in there.
We did tasting this for sparkling
and fried chicken, and it was incredibly.
It was a good pairing.
Successful. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Buttered poached lobster. Yes, please. And mushroom shallot risotto. All right. So let's stop sharing.
Okay.
And go back. So if you have not already done so, go ahead and pop open that bottle. I am going to show. All right. So honestly, what you're supposed to do, and this is kind of perfect, right? So my thumb is on top when you take the cage off. It almost never happens, but honestly, I say almost never. And then I pull the cage off and I quickly put my thumb on top because it can just pop.
Okay.
We had it happen in the store the other day. Jake was doing it and it scared everybody. So, so here I have.
I really hope someone yelled, "You'll put your eye out with that, kid."
I wish they had. It was right before Christmas. So my thumb is on top. I'm moving now. My hand is on top.
Okay.
I'm going to spin it. There we go. And it came right up. And I was not pulling on that. I just spun a little bit and boom. So it was still a little unexpected. And that's how come, right? So let's pour this beautiful beverage for you. Pour moi.
We decided to do the Waterford this evening, so since it's almost New Year's.
It is.
Where's your champagne bottle tool, Jeff, that I brought you from Germany?
Oh, I know, that is a beautiful tool, but most people don't have that, so I didn't put that on the.
True.
Yeah, but that is a fantastic tool. There is a tool for opening up sparkling wines. It's this 3-pronged metal piece. It's fantastic. It's really great. And Harriet was really nice and brought me one, which we have in the drawer right over there. Okay. But I didn't want to do something that
most people don't have.
Right. All right, so let's see here.
Should we toast first or something? I mean, it's champagne.
Probably.
Okay, so to almost 3 years of the WOW Group.
We're working on starting year number 3.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. I had that at the end, but
You toast before you drink, isn't it? Like,
fair enough.
okay.
Mm.
Mm. Mm-mm.
Right? Oh, it's so good. All right, so varietal content on this guy. This is a blend, a white blend. No, excuse me, a white and red blend.
Okay.
So this is 43% Chardonnay, 37% Meunier, and 20% Pinot Noir. So a brut wine is going to be a blend. If
I
it
didn't
was,
know that.
oh, yeah.
Brut means blend?
Brut is a blend, yes.
Okay.
So in Champagne, so you will have a Blanc de Blanc
Mhm.
means all Chardonnay,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yes.
Blanc de Noir
Mhm.
means all Pinot Noir. All right, in a
Oh,
Brut, yeah. I don't think I'm wrong on that. Yeah, I think I got that. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, and in Pinot, and because Pinot is the most expensive grape to grow, there, you know, Blanc de Noirs tend to be more expensive.
Mhm.
Then there are Brut rosés.
Mm-hmm.
So a Brut rosé would most likely be a combination of Pinot and Meunier,
Okay.
right? But largely Pinot. Excuse me, bubbles. So anyway, so this guy is a white wine
Mhm.
from predominantly, well, what do we have here? Yeah, predominantly red grapes.
Okay.
So Meunier is a red grape,
All right.
which we're going to talk about because we've talked a lot about Chardonnay and Pinot Noir over the years, right?
Mhm.
But not Meunier. So we'll do a little feature on Meunier tonight.
We do have one more toast. Okay.
Okay.
So Julie, did you want to unmute and give your toast then? No? Why can't we hear anything?
Is the volume low?
No, it's like I hear it far away or
Oh,
something.
is your headphone on?
How about now?
Now
There
I
you
can
go.
hear you. Yes.
Okay, great. No, we were just when you were toasting. So yeah, I guess our audio was messed up. You were like, should we cheers? I'm like, yeah, we should cheers. There's a wedding coming. And like nobody like acknowledged that I was talking. I was like, oh, now I just feel dumb. So yeah, I was gonna say
Cheers to Linda and Paul
Linda and
In
in
Paul.
just a few days.
That's right.
Yay.
Very
Just like,
exciting.
yay, is it here yet?
Very, very exciting for Paul.
I need- So do you guys have a question?
Hey, yeah, no, sorry, Elizabeth, you said something. I want to make sure I heard it right because I don't know if Jeff heard you ask the question. Brut doesn't mean blend. Does brut mean blend or?
It does not. Good question. Brut is the level of sugar that's left over in the wine.
Because you said brut, so
All
it's a blend. and I-
Bruts,
Okay,
Bruts are blends,
okay.
but the real thing is Brut is a definition of the amount of sugar that's left over.
Okay.
The amount that's blended in there, but Bruts always tend to be some white grapes and some red
Okay.
grapes,
So
all right? But
bruts are blends, but the term brut doesn't mean that.
the term Brut
Okay.
does not mean that.
Okay.
Bruts are blends. Yeah, I know. It's a lot. You know, like, it's like, okay,
I
all these things.
asked if brut meant blend. Thank you, Paul, for
Bruts-
listening to words that actually came out of my mouth. See?
Brut is a level of residual sugar in them.
Okay.
All right. But they are always blends. All right. A little bit of red, a little bottle of red, bottle of white.
Yeah.
All right. It just
Paul
depends on,
may have
it
listened
depends on
to
your
every
appetite.
interview.
You know what? Paul's not married yet.
Yeah.
Don't go showing the people up that've been around all these years. All right. Jackass.
The
All
ones
right.
that have decided they don't have to listen. All right, so
All right.
go
So,
ahead, now you can get.
all
back
right.
to it.
So did I cover all the grapes already? Have the percentage?
Yes.
Can you tell? It's like the silliness that's going to ensue with the
It's the end of the
exhaustion.
year.
Christmas just got done. I only had the one day off. We're
Right.
like, we're back in, which is awesome. I'm so excited to be with you guys for
Mhm.
this and for the upcoming nuptials. All right. So anyway, alcohol content 12%, which is for champagne, a high amount.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right. Age worthy. Is
Mhm.
this guy age worthy? You guys have heard me say this before, but we'll do it
Mhm.
again. Is champagne age worthy? Yes, it is. All right. Alcohol is sufficient. Acidity is high. That
Mhm.
helps with aging.
Mhm.
Tannins, non-existent,
Mhm.
right? No tannins. So what makes the difference? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide plus the acid makes it a very ageable wine, but it's a finicky ageable wine. It
Oh.
really, if you like, if you're going to have it hang out for 7, 8 years, you're fine. You're like,
Okay.
don't worry about it too
Okay.
much, right? But if you want to do 30 years, which is
Mm.
possible,
Mhm.
you've got to have it at 50 to 55 degrees in the dark. It's got to be careful.
Okay.
And then it can. Over that time, the acidity will mellow, the bubbles will reduce,
Okay.
it will darken, but it'll come out with these secondary flavors, which is a delicious experience. But you have to really manage it to get there. But it's a
Okay.
very different experience than what you get with the nice, fresh, lively champagne to begin with. Honestly, it's, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, it's almost like aging beer, right? It rarely makes it better.
Okay.
It's so good when it comes out. They're ready.
Yeah.
They hold it back. They produce it. That's one of the things we're going to discuss on the label. They make it ready for serving when they put it in the bottle. Drink it then.
And have you said that like sparkling wine is, I don't know, less caloric than,
Yes.
Okay.
It has less, as long as it's not sweet, right?
okay,
It
as long as
has,
it's a brute.
it's a brut or extra dry,
Okay.
right? So, or extra brut, which you can call it either way. That is going drier and drier, and dryness equals less sugar, residual sugar in the wine. So,
Okay.
Mhm.
So instead of doing a dry January, you just do an all bubbles January.
Or you do literally a dry January,
Mhm.
dry wines,
Dry wines, all dry wines.
all dry wines,
There you go.
dryuary, all
Okay.
dry wines.
There we go. That's what we'll do
Mm.
for our January tasting.
Well, I ordered in the, what we're going to feature this year, today.
This year?
What we're going to feature this year in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But we'll cover those later. All right. So we covered all the aging. All right. So yes, let's go back to the label and then we'll talk about what we're smelling and tasting now.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I love this label. This label reminds me of what you would find if you were in Champagne
Mhm.
at one of the, on the, at one of the wine bars. You're there, you're sitting outside, enjoying something, and they say, "This is what we drink."
Okay.
Right? So that's what this reminds me of with all the information on here. Bottle numbers.
Mhm.
So it has, for French,
Mhm.
has the grapes listed in the percentages.
Hmm.
They're saying what? All right. So dosage 6.7 grams per liter. Dosage is how much of the sweeter wine they put in.
Okay.
So in the end, it's how much residual sugar is in this beverage, right? So they take a wine that's not fully brut
Mhm.
and they put some back in to balance it out and get the level of fruitiness and such that they want.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's bone dry and just tart.
Okay.
So the vins in here, so that's vintage.
Mhm.
In this case, it's a blending of 7 different vintages. Right. It spent 3 years because it says in 2018 in here. Right. So it spent 3 years in the cave aging in the bottle. All right. So what they do, and we'll talk about this in a little bit here. When they age it as a still wine
Oh,
to get it to mellow
okay.
before they put in the dosage.
Okay.
Anyway, so they age it as a still wine. They add a little bit of sugar, and this naturally carbonates in the bottle.
Oh,
That's
okay.
one of the differences with champagne, which we'll talk about all those terms in just a few minutes,
Okay.
right? But I wanted to cover it in here. than what I'm seeing on here, which makes me happy. Everything I see on here would make me want to buy this
Okay.
this beverage.
Mhm.
Where I say it's being transparent.
Mhm.
It is champagne. It's true, true champagne. I want a champagne.
Yeah.
All right. I like this. We're gonna go with it.
Now,
So,
is that, are they allowed to put the word champagne on a bottle if it's not from champagne?
No.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Okay, so that seems like one of the few like rules that,
Yes. All right. So there are, if I remember correctly,
uh-huh.
my brain is just tickling with a few notes.
Mhm.
I believe there were 2 vineyards in California, because at one point in time, Californians were using terms like Chablis,
Mhm.
Burgundy, and Champagne
Mhm.
for their wines.
Okay. Can't do that.
And you
unless it's from
can't do
those
that.
regions.
But a couple of them were making it so long that it predated controlling the
Ah.
labels, that I believe that there is 1, 2 in California that can still call it champagne.
Okay.
But I know that there's 1 or 2 that can, you still use the word Chablis and Burgundy,
Mhm.
even though they very much are not. They're jug wines. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
I love that it puts the dosage on the label.
right? So sugar levels, dosage, bottle aging in years, years of blended vintages. It's a lot of fun information on here, like a lot of good info. So, and they're really not trying to cover anything up. It just gives me a lot of faith in the fact that this is going to be something that they're proud of. They're talking about their wine explicitly. Yeah. So bearing that in mind, let's talk a little bit about what we're tasting and smelling.
Okay.
You're out.
Well, this is a much smaller glass. I
Right.
mean, like our glasses are, sorry.
It was off camera.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to get the German glasses that you
Ah.
drink out of.
There we go.
Well, we normally, we have what are they that we sell?
The Riedells.
The
Extreme.
Riedells Extreme. So we have like a really big red wine glass, a big white wine glass,
Right.
and these are like normal champagne
Right.
glasses. So,
So.
yeah.
So what are we smelling and tasting? All right. There is a savory note to the beauty on this, right? Which I find interesting because there's like a honeysuckle. They talk about light vanilla, but they talk about truffle. And I honestly get the truffle, right? There's this brioche truffle-y thing. Brioche, so like a little bit of a bready quality. It's like pear, a bready quality, and kind of a truffle-y guy on the nose.
I was getting a lot of the skins, like kind of like when you're walking through the woods, and I don't know if you've ever grabbed the grape off the branch, and it's like kind of like dry, and like you can really taste the skin in this. I just, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain, but I got like that flavor of the skin, the grape skin.
Now, I can go with that, and that's the thing, because the skin is not sweet, it's not fruity, it's actually more of a savory thing, right? And so that's what there's a significant amount in here, which is, and part of that is they age this on the yeast, right? To give it that, and that what that gives it is that they call it brioche, right? It's kind of a sweetbread quality, right? So you've got a little bit of sweetbread, but you're dealing with a majority of red grapes in here. The Meunier and the Pinot Noir are related. We'll talk about that in a moment, but they can have kind of a mushroomy truffle quality, which I think is showing up in here on a white wine, which I find fascinating. But it makes it that much more food pairing oriented to me, which makes it even more classically French styled to me, right? Kind of a nice, but there's definitely fruit notes. I mean, let's talk about those. Run around. Definitely pear. And almost a quince, like I wouldn't quite go green apple. It's not bright enough, right? It's got almost a kind of a savory, quincy thing. They talk about white peach, which I'm like, okay, all right, I can go with white peach, and I appreciate the the suggestion on that, because
Mhm.
it's an interesting combo of flavors. It's very complex. This is not simply just, oh, that's tart and bubbly, right? This is very different from that. Going the feeling on the mouth feel, size of the bubble feel on your
Okay.
mouth.
Feels like small prickles.
Right, small prickles, right? Really coats the palate. Lots of small, tiny bubble foaming,
Okay.
almost,
Yeah.
right? So that comes from the addition of carbonation is in the bottle. If you
Okay.
force carbonate and you just pop something on and force carbon dioxide into there, you get bigger bubbles. They're
Okay.
bigger, they're larger, they're coarser.
Okay.
This is what they call a mousse, right?
Okay.
Tiny little compact bubbles
Mhm.
across there. Foam is mousse. Right?
Okay.
It just sounds better as mousse,
It does.
right?
Mhm.
So, and kind of a nice lingering tartness,
Mhm.
but also a lingering herbal. Like this, I really do enjoy champagne, but this one really makes me want to have it with food. Any other thoughts out there? Anyone?
I thought your white peach, when you said not green apple, I was like, yeah, almost like white peach. And you were like a white peach. I was like, I should have said something. Like I
Yes.
finally got like the right one.
Right, you would have been ahead of the game.
Well, because I was like nodding my head. I was like, no, it's not green apple. And I was like, it's more, but I was also thinking like the white strawberries, like
Sure.
they're not as sweet, like the tartar strawberries is very much like a white peach to me flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say the herbalness, as I
Mhm.
keep sipping on this, it's like a tarragon. It's a bright green herb. Very nice, lovely,
Mhm.
and complex. But this is a really, really, when we talk about champagne pairing well with food,
Yeah.
this guy's really jumping
I'm
out at
getting
me.
more of that savory note with this second
Mhm.
glass.
Right, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's interesting when I originally read it, and I tasted the wine first, but you're there dealing with customers at the same time, right? I was like, it's delicious. Okay, moving on, right? There were moments when all I get is delicious.
Mhm.
I'm not superhuman, but when I can really sit with it, and I was reading this and thinking about what was it? Does truffle make sense to me?
Yeah.
And it so makes sense to
Yeah.
me. And also one of the other things is a white plum, right? So
Mhm.
it's interesting because it's not to me pears and apples, which is so common
Mhm.
out of Champagne. We're talking about more like white peach, white plum, the plum skin, to Brian's point, right?
Mhm.
In an herbalness, and yet just delightful.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
Hey, I got a question about the label, and usually I just look at your label and like, oh, that's an attractive label that catches my eye. This looks like a government label. Is there a story behind that? It's just like it's very official.
So what their story is behind it, and they may even go into it, and we're going to watch a video about them, is that they're very, very transparent. This company is really working to be not just organic, but completely sustainable, and in every way a benefit to the area,
Mhm.
not pulling anything out of there.
Okay. Well, that'll be fun to watch that video.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, all right.
Anyone get any pineapple?
Hmm.
Like that's a fruit
There.
that I'm smelling for sure on my
I
birthday.
like that pineapple, the tropical note. I like calling that. I do like that a lot. Almost like almost a grilled pineapple.
Or an unripe pineapple, like not fully sweet, ripe pineapple.
Because I'm
Like
thinking,
a white pineapple, like
Mhm.
white pineapple in Costa Rica. That's where I'm going.
okay, I could go that. Yeah, I like that because I like the dryness of it. The
Mhm.
lack of extra
Yeah.
sugars. Because there's not a caramelization, but there's a richness in there. But
Mhm.
that might be the other qualities. So, all right.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay. Pinot Meunier is also called just Meunier.
Okay.
Right.
I was gonna ask you, because earlier you just referred to it as yang.
Right. And that is
Okay.
becoming more of where they want to go.
Okay.
But you can see in here that this is a great example. It's dominantly red grapes, even though we're drinking a white wine.
Right. Yeah, when you were saying Meunier, I was picturing that it ended in ET like Monet,
Oh, right.
but clearly not. All right, ready?
Yes. All right. So when they're all together, the flavors we get are citrus, yellow apple, which I think yellow apple is a cool call, because it is, we're like, oh, that thing. But honestly, I think the ones we called were a little more appropriate for this one. But cream, almond, we were talking about those tarragon herbs.
Right.
There's a little bit, and then a toastiness, which is that brioche quality, right? Dryness, yes. Light bodied, yes. None tannins, yes. High acid, yes. They're not quite as high as off the chart here, right? And then alcohol, we're actually a little above the chart. We're all the way up at 12.
It just seems to me that they have none tannins and there's color on them.
Right.
There should be nothing.
Like put a little further to the left.
It should be literally all just gray there. All right, when they say cream,
That's more of a mouthfeel thing,
okay.
right? So take it, and there is like a creaminess from the small bubbles.
Is that what, like the foaminess? that we're
Yes,
talking
the
about?
foaminess, yeah.
Okay, because when I see cream, I think of like a nitro or something.
Oh,
you
right,
know?
right. And that's that whole thing. Nitro has super small bubbles.
Okay. but
That's
it
what the difference
also
is with carbon dioxide.
tastes like,
Okay.
like,
And there
Like-
can be, like, I've had champagnes that have a real creamy.
all right, I disagree with the term. It's fine.
All right, fair.
Moving on.
She says no.
Yes.
Next. All right.
Okay.
All right. Wine term, classic method. So on here they have the vinification classique, right?
Okay.
So that is how it is carbonated. So they make the wine, it's a still wine. Then they put it into the bottle. They add a little bit of fresh grape juice.
Okay.
That's high quality, but it's got sugar in it still.
But
And a little bit of-
wine grape juice.
Right. Right.
Like
It's
we
not,
got Welch's out of the
no,
refrigerator.
they're not running
Okay.
down to the store.
Okay.
And then along with a little bit of yeast,
Mhm.
unless they just didn't, if they didn't filter, and then they would just have enough yeast in there. But it wakes it up. And so this is carbonated in the bottle, is what that really means. So when you're talking about classical method or méthode champenoise, traditional method, these all refer to the same thing of carbonating in the bottle,
Not forced carbonation.
not forced carbonation.
So like a natural carbonation. in the
Right.
bottle.
And that is not only done in champagne, but in champagne, it must be done.
Oh, okay. Not a lot.
No, they cannot.
Okay.
So in champagne, it must be done. Outside of champagne, some people do, and some people don't, which is fair enough. So when they do that, they will take them and they actually age it then with the top down,
Okay.
and then they'll let it carbonate and age and hang out, do its thing. And then you end up with yeast sitting in the bottle, right? Because the yeast gets done, it's done its job, falls out of solution, and it sits up in the neck because it's upside down. So now they have to disgorge it.
Mhm.
They want to get rid of that yeast. I mean, because we don't have it in here. We don't have a
Right,
bunch of hazy
right.
yeast in here. So they do it a couple of different ways. Mostly today, what they will do is they'll put it into a machine
Mhm.
and they will freeze. Everything will be facing toward the neck, right?
Mhm.
So they'll freeze just the wine, and then they'll take it down so cold that
Mhm.
there's an ice block that freezes all the yeast
Okay.
and all that wine, that small
Mhm.
amount of wine. They pop it open, bam, it flies out. Pop it back in and give it a little bit of wine. That's the dosage.
Okay.
And they give it just enough to give it the amount of sugar they
Mhm.
want to get the final result.
Okay. Saw a video at one point with them, like,
We did.
bleeding, but not with the freezing.
No,
Yeah,
no, yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes they don't have to do the freezing method. Sometimes they just pop it open, boom, boom, and it's just very quick. You don't want to lose that beautiful wine. So, All right,
Ready?
next one, please. Thank you. All right, so Pinot Meunier, all right. So close relative of Pinot Noir, also very much a red grape that they put into all these white wines.
Right.
Not always included in the Champagne blends, but is often, right?
Okay.
Sometimes it can be Chardonnay and Pinot and nothing else. It's going to be more expensive. So Meunier, why is it more expensive if there's no Meunier?
Right.
Good question, Elizabeth. All right. Meunier can handle cooler temperatures. It's kind of a good all-around base,
Okay.
right? So it buds later and ripens faster than Pinot Noir or Chardonnay. So if there's a late freeze, not going to affect the Meunier. And so, because that'll be the thing, a late freeze, if you have Chardonnay and Pinot Noir budding out with the leaves for that season, and you get a late freeze and it freezes them off, now you've got to wait for the vine to recover 6 weeks.
Okay.
Now it's going to ripen late. And unless you have an Indian summer to really kind of hang out and give you extended ripening time, you might not get fully ripe grapes. But the Meunier, it doesn't even try to bud until later, and it ripens faster. So you get the base of your champagne done. You add character from the champagne, Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir. So that's the thing. It's a great base that does not interfere with the others and complements both in a little bit.
This is Meunier. I can't remember.
This one is 37%.
Okay. Yes. That's
Yeah, so
that's a good
a
percentage.
significant amount. So you got a really nice base in there, right? And it really helps them. So it tends to be higher tartness than Pinot Noir. So it's one of those things where, on its own, people are like, we'd like a little something else going on. But there is some production solo.
Oh, that was my next question.
Of course it was. I know. No, I thought it might be.
Okay.
So yes, it is produced solo, rarely.
Okay.
I'm trying to find some.
Oh, cool. That would be neat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
I'd like that.
So anyway, it's a reliable base. It can really help, and it's a wonderful middle ground for all of these because it plays with both sides. All right. Yes, please. All right. Availability by region, almost all France. Right.
Yeah.
So you have France, you have Germany, and then everything else is minuscule.
Yeah.
Flavors, if you were to drink a red still Meunier, right? Tart cherry, pomegranate, potting soil, mushroom, and roses.
So could that savory note be from, I mean, it's 37% Meunier.
Right. No, it could be because Meunier, which they call Pinot Meunier, is related to Pinot Noir. So if you look at this and you're like, oh, well, Pinot Noir has cherry and potting soil and mushroom.
Sure.
Yeah, so it is related and it has a lot of those similar flavors, but a little more tartness, like the acidity. You look at it there.
Yeah. Is the Pinot Noir what bumps up the ABV? Because I'm looking, this is below the 12% as well.
Pinot, probably. I mean, Chardonnay can grown properly, but in this region, I would guess Pinot. Or just warmer growth across the board for all three.
Okay.
Yes. All right, so we're dealing with lots of different grapes here, right? But none of them are thick skinned.
Okay.
We're dealing with cool growth grapes, right? So there is an intensity of the outside skin. And what we're really dealing with is the peripheral zone for flavor, because we're not giving extended time in the wine in order to not extract the color, right? So, so the skins are not hanging out a long time because otherwise we'd end up with a rosé or a red,
Right.
So they're not letting the skin have the time. It's really coming from the peripheral zone and the intermediate zone in here. These wines are much more about the interior of the grape and getting a grape that has a complete set of character going deep into the grape rather than some of the grapes that are really based around the outside of the, being on the skin.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of acid involved because of that, and then it comes through. All right, so where are we? We are here in the upper quarter of
Yeah,
the
very
northern growing latitude. And so here we are in Champagne. So Champagne is part of Burgundy. So Burgundy starts here and runs all the way up to here. So this is the Champagne region, which is a subset of Burgundy, which they do separately delineate here. Is this classic Burgundy, which is Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Mhm.
So this is the three, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Meunier. And then this part is part of Burgundy. This is Beaujolais. Right, so Beaujolais does, and so that's Gamay and Chardonnay.
Mhm.
But anyway, so we're up here in Champagne. Champagne is Champagne, but it's also actually a piece of Burgundy. And this is what it looks like. Not
Just
too
beautiful.
shabby. Traditionally very cool growing region, slow ripening and tendency to be underripe or barely ripe. So you get high acid, right?
Okay.
So then it was always, what do we do with all this acid? How do we make it palatable?
Mhm.
Right? Which has to do with this, you know, in this case, the sparkling, aging, that kind of a thing. Let's see, northern part of Burgundy and chalky soil. So here's,
Yeah, looking at that, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's fancy.
right, exactly. And then there's that,
Very much chalky.
definitely
soil.
chalky soil,
Mhm.
right? Very
is
lean
lean?
wines,
Wines.
lean. So you're not dealing with opulent, crazy, fruity wines,
Okay.
right? Much more acid driven, you know, striving to ripen, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
There's not a lot of help they're getting from the soil for fertility, right? So
Okay.
it's a low fertility soil, lots of minerals, not much water going to be retained in that either.
Right.
So yeah, lean wines.
Okay.
Means they lean. Okay.
No,
All right. So Telmont Winery
error 150. Unable to play video.
worked fine earlier. So we'll fix that like we did last time. It's so annoying.
What do you mean like we did last time? How did
We had to jump out to YouTube and get it. And anyway,
want me to do that?
yeah, let's do it. Because I mean,
Okay.
that's the main thing.
Just hold on a moment.
Sorry, everybody. It worked fine. I don't understand what the thing is where occasionally it's doing that.
I don't know. Nope, hold on. Is it this one?
It's
Mm,
this one.
This one?
Yep.
Okay, so one moment.
I wonder if it's because they flagged themselves.
It may be. All right. Let me. Okay. I did hit stop share. Can you guys see it? No, okay.
Yeah.
One moment then. Here we go. Nope.
No.
Cancel. Hold on. All right, you should see a black screen. Cool.
All right. Good. It is.
Is there supposed to be music?
So you should hear. No, okay, hold on a moment then. And
Share sound.
yeah, it was doing it automatically for a while, but I'm having to go into the settings that normally it just has it, but Zoom just went through an update, so it's not allowing it to be shared. See, it should be right here in audio settings. We may have to give up on the video because, or what I can do is I can give you guys the link. You can watch it and let us know when you're done. Because it's not, there's no, you see this?
What the hell?
It's not there.
It's ridiculous.
All right.
How am I supposed to prepare for that, right?
No, it's a brand new thing. It literally, here we go. There we go. This, okay, this should work now. They moved it. All right, so let's see.
Great job.
Jerry, we can see you when it's playing, but you're the only person we can see. So give us a thumbs up, like actually a physical thumbs up when it's, if you can hear it, okay?
Of 1930. On Saturday nights, André and the syncopated beat of his jazz band sets the dancers jiving in the local ballrooms of his native Champagne. Now, with his head in the stars, he rides through the summer night. The vines stretching around him as far as the eye can see exude their intense fragrance. Damery, his village, his land, isn't far away now. The life-giving sap flows through the veins of the vines. The October harvest will be bountiful. Soon, he will go riding from village to village to help the wine growers vinify their harvest and make their own champagne. Nature writes its own score, Henri L'Hôpital, André's father said. I merely interpreted humbly and without false notes. Henri was a wine grower. He was also a musician. 1911. The province of Champagne was in a state of crisis. Local wine growers grew anxious and rose up in revolt. You don't tamper with the soil of Champagne, nor with its wine. Henri composed a hymn to the glory and rebirth of Champagne. The seed of its future had been sown. 1912. Henri went one step further. Pioneer, driven by his loyalty, he started to make his first champagne with his own grapes. 1945. The war is over. Victorious Americans cross the Marne. André walks towards these tall, laughing soldiers, a glass of champagne in his outstretched hand. They want to know everything. André never tires of telling his story. One day, the medieval helmet of his regiment, derived from the Royal Cavalry of Louis XIV, will emblazon his bottles. One day, his champagne will bear the name Telmont, a tribute to his most beautiful vineyard. 1968, Serge L'Hôpital, his son, will in turn enhance the house of Telmont in the heart of the Marne Valley. 1999, the torch is handed to Bertrand L'Hôpital, an agronomist, in his new way of nurturing his earth. For Telmont, the planets are aligning. The wine will be good if the earth is true. Engaging in conversations with the passing moons, keeping time with the complex changing of the seasons, submitting to the winds of spring, soothing the fever of passing summer storms, interpreting the sounds of autumn rains, whispering to the vines in the depths of winter, sensing the promise of the next harvest in the distant beating of a butterfly's wing. It's by listening to the earth's deep melodies that Telmont creates its champagne and catches the echoes of the world of tomorrow.
I'll stop that share.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want me to move on to the next
Yes.
thing then? Okay. All right, hold on. Now I will share the next slide. This is the ratings. You want to go on to that
All
already?
right, well, we can talk real quick.
Okay, all right.
All right.
So they said that, oh, let's see, hold on. It says, from an artistic perspective, this is the coolest video we've seen since we started the chat. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, beautifully done.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, I love, and it's not just like the visuals on it. all of the poetry of the words as well.
Right.
It's very French sounding.
It is, and honestly, that goes into what they're making, right?
Mhm.
It's a poetry that they're creating art
Right.
in a glass.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that before, the
Mhm.
difference with, that's why you do have it, that's why it's subjective, because it is art.
Right, right.
Mhm.
It is, and that's with the range of what you can taste
Right.
in the wine world,
Right.
right? You can have giggle juice,
Mhm.
and then you have something that
Right.
they're creating to have you taste their vineyards
Yeah.
and their vision and what they put into
Absolutely.
it.
I hadn't even read Julie's comment yet, but yeah, the echoes of the world of tomorrow, they're like poets.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So
Mm.
it's gorgeous. I'm glad we were able to just go to YouTube and share that then.
Yeah, I'm
So-
glad it worked out. It
Mhm.
was a beautiful video. It
Mhm.
should have worked.
It's fine.
Same process as every week. Same as it ever was.
These are all the regulars. They're
Right.
cool.
That's right.
So would you like for me to, well, any
All right.
questions?
Any thoughts, questions, tasting notes, other than what you guys already shared?
Who does the best job? Okay, because like I love this is my preferred like dry sparkling.
Mhm.
So because we get so little of that here, what do you think is the best comparison that is more accessible for us?
Gruet, probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say Gruet if
I
I
like
were to
that.
go with it, with like something you're like, okay, I might drink this every week, right?
I was gonna
I
say,
think
we
they
always
do.
have that in the store, so that's accessible for us.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, it's in a very French style. It's a beautiful wine. Mhm.
Yeah, and I have never done it with the fried chicken just because I'm not a giant fried chicken fan, but we did have like a fattier like salmon dinner. So, but it wasn't ready till
Oh, yeah.
we were like already halfway through our bottle, and I already loved it. And then eating it with like the fattier flavors, I was like, ah, damn, it's so good. Just
No, I can totally see that
yeah,
with like
all the time.
absolutely with a nice, nice salmon,
Mhm.
with a little bit of herbs on top, and
Yeah.
you have this to play with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This,
Yeah. We
and
drank
we
the
talk,
first half of the bottle very classy and slowly, and then we started eating, and we were like, "Oh my god, so good together."
nom nom.
Yeah, yeah.
I made shrimp scampi with a lot of garlic and some hot pepper flakes and butter and garlic and olive oil. It was I'd take a bite of shrimp and then a sip of champagne, and it was, yeah.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Love this champagne, Jeff, and you already know that
Right.
because I opened a bottle of it as soon as you got it, and I love it.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah.
It's great. Go ahead.
I know, I was just gonna say about the tons of garlic. I always say you can never have too much garlic. Like, I never measure garlic. I just throw as
Garlic
much
and butter.
Yeah,
and
I love all the
I-
cooking videos where they're like, you measure garlic with your heart. Like that's,
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yep.
we got a garlic cheese for Christmas this year. Somebody sent it to
good.
us.
Oh,
It is, oh yeah. From either Hickory Farms or Harry and David, like one of those
Mhm.
where,
Mhm.
oh my God. I was like, yes, put garlic in everything. It belongs in everything.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
that's great. Well, I'm glad you guys like it. We'll come back around to that as
Okay.
we do the
ratings.
ratings. So,
Okay.
this guy, he's got some great ratings. I think you guys have had an idea of why it impressed me.
Oops. Yep. I have to go back to the sharing this way now that we
Right.
did the other.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So we had it in the outstanding category,
Mhm.
right? Honestly, one of the things I always say about champagne is it's one of those so highly thought of regions that
Mhm.
getting into the 90s is actually harder,
Oh, okay.
right? So it's a combination, it's a back and forth, right?
Mhm.
So getting to 90
Mhm.
seems to be easier for them, but also because they have an amazing growing region. So
Mhm.
generally they have amazing fruit. But getting into the 90s, which they have,
Mhm.
is harder. So anyway, given that, which we've talked about, is it well made? Separate from whether or not it's your style, if you're a big red drinker and you don't even like sparkling,
Mhm.
but is it well made, right?
Mhm.
And even better, if you do like it, what are you guys thinking? Is it very good? Is it outstanding? Is it outstanding for its price point and location even, right? All these things matter.
All right, so I will stop the share a moment. By the way, Paul said to me, I sounded like I was a little soft tonight. I was just like, Jeff's super loud.
I'm super loud.
Okay, Brian says 97, just fantastic.
Oh.
Harriet is with Brian. Okay. Linda and Brenda a 90, Laura and John a 92. Wait for a couple more ratings. Julie says 92.5. I love sparkling, especially because it's dry, but still big mouth feel. Mhm.
This is almost reminded me, now that it's warmed up a little bit. I had these, I don't remember if you were with me, rosemary rolls.
Mhm.
It's like there's a rosemary roll, herby.
It sounds
thing
fantastic.
that
I don't
is-
think I was
oh,
with you. People bring you things at the store
They
that,
do. Oh, it's lovely.
by the way, if anybody got to taste Jillian's shortbread cookies, they were absolutely fantastic. Jerry says a 93, Paul says a 92. I'd do a 93.
Nice,
Yeah,
lovely,
yeah.
fantastic. I would say, I've had a significant amount
Mhm.
of champagne. I love, especially for a food pairing where I want this with food,
Mhm,
you know, on there. I mean, I love it alone,
mhm.
but I love it. A lot of them, I think, have so much tartness. I find it hard to imagine them pairing well with most foods unless you're doing ceviche and you do a 1 + 1 = 3 thing.
Mhm.
But this guy, oh my gosh, talk about flexible with you could put it in. There's so many different
Yeah.
options that I want to eat this, you know, eat with this. So
Also, Jim has not had dinner yet, so
Well. fair enough.
I did eat it. Well, not earlier, but before this.
All right, awesome. I'm glad you guys
Any
liked it.
other questions, food pairings?
I did mine with a grilled lobster tail that Linda picked up from Publix and some
Oh.
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods. Sorry. And it was so much better with the food. It was amazing. I probably would have gone higher had I still been eating the food, but I already love champagne. I love sparkling wines.
Yeah.
Well, they're good.
Mhm.
That's right. They're fantastic. Invented in the 1500s
Oh,
by
really?
monks
Okay.
accidentally. They don't say accidentally. It was accidentally.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Okay.
They hadn't turned off fermentation when they put it in the bottles.
They
Oh,
say that about beer too, though, right? That beer was an accident.
It probably was. Yeah. Yeah. It probably was. I mean, it just makes sense that you take something, it's not done fermenting, you
Mhm.
throw it into a bottle. Whoa, my goodness, what has happened here?
Right,
You know, it
right.
must have blown their minds.
What's that?
So it sounds like mistakes is such a good growth mindset lesson. Like we get penicillin, we get champagne, we get beer, like try stuff. It's okay if you fail. You might save lives and enhance lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can tell those people that are in counseling or education because we talk about growth mindset. Are you a rigid or a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Yeah. Ready?
All right, this-
Okay,
Jerry, you're muted.
you're
Still
still
muted.
muted.
I said they got to do something for fun. They didn't have HBO or anything, you know.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Moving
Yeah.
around throwing
Fair
stuff
enough.
in the bottle and geez, what happened?
Right? Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So we are
Yeah,
going to see you next week.
We got to thank our sources.
Forget about that. Well, there's a slide in there.
Thank you, winefolly750.com, Wikipedia, wine.com, wine searcher, ton of information about Meunier, and Champagne Telmont. Move on, don't look at the screen. There we go. No misspellings. All right, so the
Now,
next wine.
It's the thing from because butter didn't have an E in it. It was like, but anyway,
Right.
it had one E, but not.
All right, we're heading over. So starting our new season,
Okay,
right?
yes,
Can we call it season 3? It really starts in March,
Yeah.
but still.
almost.
We're starting the new year with a new grape and a new location. We're going to Sardinia
Okay,
to drink Canana.
is
Yeah.
that another name for a grape that we know?
Yes, but I'm not telling you.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Willy Wong 90 on this guy. Food pairings, barbecue ribs, pork or beef, lamb ragu, grilled vegetables, or manchego cheese. All right. Big red grape. That's what I'm giving you right now.
Big red grape.
Join me. Oh, join us.
So it's another name for caps off.
Nope.
Oh. Okay.
That
Well,
would be a negatore.
have to look back next week then.
That's
All
right. So anyway, yes. So let's see what Sardinia has to
Yes.
present to us. We haven't been
Let
there.
us see.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Start the new year with some fun new stuff. Thank you all so much for coming.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. And thank you all for hanging with us for almost 3 years. We'll probably ought to do a special double thing on the anniversary,
Yes.
which will be in March. So, right.
Cool.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.